to me, that really shows the partnerships that have been built out in this ecosystem, because where that came from was actually a connection with OEdit and with our own chamber and EDC, who brought Alexandra over to us with her company Fact Forum. And really, the community coming around her and her company has really led her to say, hey, this is a spot where I know I'm being supported by the community. I know I'm being supported by local government and local quasi-government with, chambers and EDCs. I'm supported by local mentors.
Right.
And so we really try to just bring our arms around everybody that comes through our cohorts, and that community is a huge aspect for anybody who's kind of a lonely entrepreneur trying to find their way.
And that lonely entrepreneur is almost a redundant statement, right? I mean, they really are lone wolves in many regards. I mean, I certainly feel that way.
The very latest on economic development, workforce, and industry sector news in Southern Colorado. Here is Business Digest Weekly with our host, Dirk Hobbs.
Good Friday afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Business Digest Weekly. I am your host, Dirk Hobbs. Hey, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends at Colorado Springs Orthopedic Group. Thank you for underwriting this great program, because the business community is coming together. We're coalescing here around this station and these conversations that we're having here in the Business Digest. We're starting to share what's going on in the region. We're enjoying finding out who's new to town, who's hiring, who's innovating, who's expanding. I mean, there's some great stuff going on in Southeast Colorado, and our ecosystems are alive and well. They're thriving. And regardless of what happens to Space Force, we're going to be just fine, ladies and gentlemen. So relax, kick back, track down the in-flight personnel for another toddy, and sit back and relax. So we're in a good place here in Southern Colorado, but we are also in a place where we have to keep it going. And we're going to have a great conversation with a very new and young leader to the community, Max Cupp, Executive Director for Exponential Impacts across the board from me. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Dirk.
Glad you're here. So I'm going to move through a few notes here, and then we'll get to you, man. How's that sound?
Perfect.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, glad you're with us here. And hey, is it a new day in the United States? Certainly a lot of folks tend to think so, and we certainly think so. We think this is going to be a great season. I think some of the, just the common sense responsibility stuff, closing the border and trying to create a good immigration system, an effective immigration system makes a lot of sense, rather than just opening the borders. And, hopefully we'll see some action take place and shore up here pretty quick. Obviously, we want to fill our strategic reserves. It sounds like that's going to be getting underway here. And then just, de-weaponizing some of the departments that tended to have a little more bias skew towards one party or another, or one set of values or another. So hopefully we're just kind of getting our bearings back, getting some common sense, and getting back to work and doing what we do really well. But some of the first announcements to come out of Washington, Stargate. So this is a fascinating project. It's a $500 billion investment, $500 billion. And it's starting to roll off the tongue, and that scares me a little bit, Max. I don't know about you, but this is a joint venture among three companies, OpenAI, Oracle, and SoftBank. And the original deal looked to be closer to about $100 billion, which is still not peanuts, but $500 billion, literally 5 times that amount, will go into this. So what does that mean? It's basically our AI infrastructure here in the United States. We're kind of drifting along in this space as compared to some of the other countries in the world. And the Trump administration and a lot of tech leaders they don't want to assume that position. They want to assume the dominant position, the kind of an America first disposition, if you will, to prepare this nation for the next generation of artificial intelligence. And so the infrastructure is what a lot of that $500 billion will represent and build into. The Trump administration also suggested that That also indicates about 100,000 onshore jobs here in the U.S. That's a tremendous investment. 100,000 jobs, Max. And my curiosity is, how much is Colorado going to get of that? How much are we going to step up and play ball and become a part of this ecosystem? So I hear that the state of Texas is going to be significantly involved, but I would love to get our hands on a little bit of that pie, shore up some of what we're doing here in Colorado Springs, and really be involved in the conversation. I don't know. Do you have any early thoughts on that one?
No, I mean, absolutely. It makes total sense, connecting with some of our partners up north in the Denver, Boulder area, down in New Mexico,
That's right.
and Wyoming, and really just coming up with a comprehensive plan for how we work together to pull those dollars over here to create more jobs. It sounds perfect.
Great opportunity. So step one is building the data centers. And then, of course, those data centers are going to need significant power. So electricity infrastructure is where a lot of those dollars are going to, those early dollars are going to go. Running servers it's not a cool process. It's not an easy process. It's a hot and heavy process, and it draws a lot of juice from our plants. So obviously, a lot of things are in play here. Our critical infrastructure here, our workforce dynamics here. Are we going to continue to import more and more employees from other parts of the country in? And are we going to continue to work with our schools here, UCCS, CSU, Pueblo, CU, CC, Air Force Academy, Pikes Peak State College, to continue to prepare the next generation workforce for these jobs? Because this is a big deal. Anyway, Sam Altman from OpenAI, Masayoshi Son from SoftBank, and of course Larry Ellison from Oracle were all at the table, and announcement was made earlier this week. So I'm just hoping the EDC and other big participants, OEDIT and the chambers are out there lobbying for our community. Of course, our civic elected leaders are lobbying for our region to be a part of that equation. Well, if you made it past January 18th and you still know where your gym is, congratulations, you made it past Quitter's Day. Quitter's Day apparently is there's an official day, Max. It's January 18th. And if you get past Quitter's Day, you have a higher success rate and a higher probability of actually getting to the next Quitter's Day, which is in March. Okay. For your New Year's resolution. So hopefully you stuck with it, folks. I am. So far, so good. And it's not so much the gym. It's just, getting out, fast walking, keeping in shape, doing some crunches. They got that chair workout now.
Yeah.
For old guys like me. So
yeah, my Quitter's Day was to stop working out.
Oh.
I needed to start working out after January 18th.
And how'd it go?
So I'm back in the gym now.
Boom.
So we're good.
We're good. Congratulations. Well, you probably joined a lot of folks because, those first 2 weeks are ridiculous. Everybody and their brothers in there. It smells, and you can just see the desperation pouring out of everybody. But I think it's starting to thin out now, and you can start, safely going back in without getting mobbed or drowning in a pool of somebody else's sweat. Well, that's attractive, isn't it? All right. So if you're a Hannity watcher, Fox News, you probably saw our distinguished Congressman Jeff Crank in the background. He had a lot of the Republican caucus on, I believe it was Tuesday of this week. And there was Jeff Crank in the back row there, but definitely visible. And so we know he's there. We know he is listening in and participating on all that's going on. So anyway, good luck to Congressman Jeff Crank. We look forward to collaborating with you during your tenure, sir. All right, well, let's get down to business here. We got Max Cupp. As I said, he is the executive director for Exponential Impact, and we're going to get to learn a lot more about what that organization does here in Colorado Springs. I love this organization. It's founded by Vance Brown, and I know you guys are friends, and he hand-selected you, and I just want to get to know you a little bit, and then we'll get into what is exponential impact and how the good folks out in Southern Colorado can become a part of this. So, Max, welcome to the program, brother.
Thanks for having me, Dirk.
Yes, sir. Well, tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll take a break and learn a little bit more about XI.
That sounds perfect. Yeah. So, Max Cupp, born and raised in Michigan. I lived there for most of my life. I moved out here to Colorado about 8 years ago. My background before that was working in urban planning and real estate development. So coming out here, I didn't know anybody. So my goal was to find a job. And what I'll say is that Colorado Springs is one of the easiest places to, once you get to know somebody, you get to build a network quickly because people know each other really well. So
that's good to hear.
Didn't know anybody, was able to just come in, get a few coffees on the calendar, and then started showing up to city meetings every day. And that's how I landed my first role here in the Springs. And then that's continued on to be a community builder. And that's how I got to XI.
So where did you and Vance Brown actually meet?
So I met Vance a few times through the Community Foundation, through Pikes Peak Community Foundation.
Got it.
But mostly through his wife, Betsy Brown, who's also on the board for Exponential Impact, who I worked on the Early Childhood Business Council with.
And, I mean, was there an immediate interest from your perspective in that job? Had you kind of been there, done that?
Yeah, I worked with XI a little bit when I was at the Community Foundation, so on their Survive and Thrive program. Got to see the impact that they were having in the community. And so when I had a conversation, had a lunch with Vance, he said, I'm thinking about retiring and this might be a role that would be good for you. I thought about it a little more and said, that sounds like the coolest opportunity that a guy like me could have. So I jumped all in. Yeah,
you might have the coolest job in Colorado.
I am lucky.
I think you and Chloe Heft over at Venue, some of those other, great jobs that are just, I mean, it's almost all fun.
It's fun, and I get to not be the smartest person in the room every single day, and I love it. It's unbelievable.
Well, and I really want to dive into our ecosystem of accelerating and incubating companies here in Colorado Springs and throughout Southeast Colorado. Because I don't think you guys are just relegated to Colorado Springs. Am I accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. So we serve the state of Colorado with our tech accelerator.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and this is an important step for a community this size. We're kind of that stage 2 community, tier 2, whatever you want to call it. So we're not Dallas or Denver just yet, but we're certainly climbing it quickly. But having these pieces and parts of infrastructure for incubating companies is a huge part, and it was largely absent until Vance put this flag in the ground. And of course, you've got some activities going up at UCCS, but and that's great, and I don't want to discount that whatsoever. But having a very public-facing accelerator is hugely important.
Yeah, it's a part of that infrastructure. It's a part of that. Like you just mentioned, it's one of those 4 things that are super important for any ecosystem, especially a tech ecosystem, to thrive. And so having the infrastructure of accelerators, with UCCS, with us, with Catalyst, in addition to some of the spaces where people can work, we have a co-working space. That's the infrastructure that helps entrepreneurs thrive.
It really does.
So, yeah.
Well, I want to get into that with you, but I want to encourage our readers and listeners and viewers here to go to socodigest.com. We're actually going to be posting a lot of information that's coming out of XI this year in 2025. They've got pitch nights. They've got all kinds of activities, and we want to make sure you're informed and have advanced opportunity to register for some of these great events. Because if you've got an idea and it's a marketable idea, this is a good place to start the conversation. So we're back with Max Cupp, Executive Director for XI, in just a minute.
See the change in my face now, 'cause I'm finally waking up, so I let go.
All right, we're back here, second quarter Business Digest Weekly on a Friday, January 24th, warmest day of the week. Not quite bomb cyclone cold, but certainly cold enough. And here's to our friends in the Southeast who have found their heaters and space heaters. Yes, that dial does go above 72. And aren't you glad? So we certainly are here. We love it up here in Colorado. It just fills your lungs full of cool, fresh air and gets your blood pumping. Get out of bed. Go for a walk. Come on, don't be a baby. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're hanging out with Max Cupp. He's Executive Director of Exponential Impact. So if you're not familiar with this organization, I encourage you to go online at exponentialimpact.com while we're talking to Max. And we're going to get to know the importance and the significance of an incubator and accelerator of this nature. There's been some attempts at this throughout the community throughout the course of the last 30 years here in Southern Colorado, and all very valiant efforts. But this is by far one of the most organized and assembled groups that I've seen in the community. And any community like this, whether it's Silicon Valley or certain areas in Dallas-Fort Worth, the Research Triangle Park in North Carolina, I mean, this is a staple of a business and economic development ecosystem. Having a organized, structured accelerator is part and parcel what you will find. In fact, you'll probably find multiple ones. But Vance Brown kicked this off several years ago, and he's been on the show a few times explaining what it is and some of the dreams and visions he's had for it, which have now become reality. And now his heir apparent, Max Cupp, has taken the wheel. Glad you're with us, Max.
Thanks for having me here, Dirk.
I
love it.
Appreciate you championing this conversation and the businesses that are kind of up and coming here in Southern Colorado. So let's get an executive summary on XI. That's the short name for it. Let's get an executive summary of the organization and what is an accelerator incubator ecosystem that you guys have.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll break it down into two parts. One part is our tech accelerator. Mm-hmm. So that's where we help tech companies that are really just past the idea phase. So they've developed a product, but they're looking to grow. They're looking to pour some rocket fuel on, get their first customers, or they've got a few customers and they're really looking to scale. So they're looking to build out a team. They're looking to bring on more customers and looking to have that company grow right here in our state and really in the Springs. So that's the tech accelerator. And then on the flip side of the house, we have our Survive and Thrive program, which is for small business owners in El Paso County. We provide mentorship, programming, and then access to low interest loans for small business owners in El Paso County. So it's really just about building that entrepreneurial ecosystem. So a spot where entrepreneurs have to thrive.
Okay. So Survive and Thrive is more the really early stage startup guys. Is that accurate?
No. So Survive and Thrive is actually a little bit more established small businesses.
Oh, they're further down.
That's any type of small business. Okay. So we've got restaurants in there. We've got glass cleaners. We've got dance studio owners, and that's its own program for any type of small business in El Paso County. The Tech Accelerator is really those earlier stage. It's your pre-seed, seed companies in tech that are really looking to grow.
Okay.
Yep.
And have you kind of established a fairly substantial ecosystem of investors, angels, early stage investors? Has that been formalized?
Yeah, so that's actually part of my goal this year, is to really build out that network of investors. So I've already got, for instance, a VC coming down, I think on the 6th of February or so. He's going to do office hours with some of our companies.
Okay.
So it's really just building those connections with folks who made their money in tech. And the truth is that a lot of them live up near Denver, Boulder, Fort Collins.
They do.
So building that network, bringing them down, and also starting to bring our companies up north as well, so that we can just have a network where I've got X, Y, and Z company that's doing really well, and I need to get them in front of investors, and we can make that introduction.
See, it's not AJ, is it?
No.
No, okay.
No.
So but see, what you just described there, you've got a company that's starting to get its wings. They're starting to formulate their vision and execute on their vision and build out. And now you got a VC kind of trolling the room, right? Literally on campus.
Yeah.
Right. And you're going to have the opportunity as somebody who's a part of that to have those really intense conversations about what's next. Because a lot of folks don't. They're clinical experts at what they do.
Yep.
But that next level of growth is often elusive for many.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, that's a big part of why we have our programs and such, is that we know that it's tough for a young entrepreneur, a founder, to figure out what next step should I take? Should I take VC money and potentially have a shorter timeline to be able to have that company grow? Mm-hmm. Should I bootstrap and get more customers and then start talking to VCs? And so within our programs, within our community, I've got CEOs that have been venture backed 7 or 8 times. I've got guys who are bootstrap CEOs, and they're bootstrapped to their core. They'll both try to sell you on what they think makes sense. But that's what's really nice, is that all of our entrepreneurs, our founders, they get to see both points of view and then make an educated decision, so that when that VC is on campus and they have a dedicated 30-minute time slot with them, they know here's what I should be asking for, and here's what I'm looking for in a VC, not just I'm looking to get any money that I can get.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that curriculum, if you will, you're going to find in the Survive and Thrive programs, or which ones?
Yeah, so that curriculum is mostly geared towards the Tech Accelerator.
Okay.
For Survive and Thrive, it's a lot more of your basics of business. So it's your managing your financials, it's managing employees and leadership. It's also one of the things that underlies all of our programs is that holistic health and well-being. So Vance Brown, for instance, after he got one of the largest raises of his career, so he raised the most amount of money that he ever had, one of the largest investments in a company in Colorado Springs. Mm-hmm. The next day, he said he was done. And the reason is that he was burnt out. Mm-hmm. And so some of the principles underlying our accelerator are that holistic piece, health and wellness, awareness. How do we help those young founders and CEOs, or even the seasoned ones, get to a space where they have a bit of that mindfulness in their day? Mm-hmm. They can make clearer, more thought out decisions during the day because they've taken that time for themselves. And really, we're just looking to create staying power. We want to have these companies, these founders, entrepreneurs stay and be able to stay in their business and or pivot to the next idea because for whatever reason.
Yeah.
It's better for their family. It's better because there's just an opportunity there.
An opportunity, or maybe they've run their course on the initial trajectory of the idea.
Exactly.
And they need confidence and source verified opinions, for lack of a better phrase, to help them understand that this is, a change or a pivot might be for the best.
Yeah. Well, and that's why, when we track our companies and how well they're doing, I'd say we have a great track record. Right now, about 70% of our companies that have come through since 2017 are still in business.
Congratulations.
Which
that's exceptional.
It really is, especially when you compare that to the national averages. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, we really look at the entrepreneur themselves to see how they're doing.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, they might close their business during the accelerator because the idea it was a great idea, but the execution isn't there, or the market isn't there yet.
Right.
And so they pivoted and started a new business, which for us is a big win. Get that person working on a business that actually has some opportunity there.
So what are some of the first steps for somebody who's outside your doors right now looking in? Yeah. What do they need to have in their bag before they can be taken seriously at XI?
Yeah, so there's a couple things that are really helpful. Number one, having an MVP, a minimum viable product. So they've at least put the time into building out that product and or have it significantly down the road in terms of maybe there's some financing that they need to really get the thing built if it's a high capital expenditure up front. Mm-hmm. So that's one piece, is really having that MVP done.
Got it.
The next piece is we really love to see folks that are working on that customer plan before they're jumping into I need investment. We want to know that they've either got customers or that they're really thinking about how am I going to bring on customers in these first 90 days. Mm-hmm. Customers are your best investors. That's something that I learned from Vance that he says all the time.
That's right.
And he's a bootstrap guy.
Don't have to pay them back.
Exactly. You don't have to pay them back.
You just have to deliver.
Exactly. And so what are you doing in terms of your plan to bring in customers? And then we're happy to have all the investment conversations that you want after that. And we will have them. But those are generally a couple of things that we look for. Our application for the Tech Accelerator is really in depth. We want serious companies that have put in the time. They've met with all of their founders over many, many months or years even, and have come up with well thought out plans of how they're going to grow their business.
Max Cupp, Executive Director at Exponential Impact, is hanging out with us, and he's given us some great insight, whether you're outside looking in XI right now or whether you're just starting to noodle some ideas that you'd like to put pen to paper and then take some of those initial next steps. Obviously, there's great resources throughout the community, and we'll try to link those together in the order that they should go in. But exponentialimpact.com is the website. Stay on that website. We'll take a break here, and we'll come back with Max. We'll learn more about how to take those initial steps into the accelerator. All right, third quarter here at the Business Digest Weekly. It's a January 24th. We're headlong into the weekend almost. You're just 90 short minutes away from happy hour. Hey, we had a Colorado Springs first this week. J.W. Roth and a lot of his leadership team went over to New York City, and they rang the New York Stock Exchange bell. That is the first company that originated in Colorado Springs and is headquartered in Colorado Springs, still to this day, obviously, and hopefully forever, to do that at the New York Stock Exchange. Obviously, we've had some big powerhouse companies come out of here, but that is the first one to ring the bell at the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange. So anyway, congratulations, J.W. Roth and Company. Really an honor to see you guys get up there and represent Colorado Springs and what is happening here in Southeast Colorado. Exciting times, and congratulations also on your new projects in Texas. I'm sure there's much more to come. So anyway, we're with Michigan Wolverine graduate Max Cupp.
Go Blue.
Go Blue. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Anyway, that notwithstanding, and I know there's a lot of blue in the Colorado Springs area. I've got a lot of friends.
A lot of us Midwesterners out here.
Indeed, there are. He's the executive director at Exponential Impact Tech Accelerator here in Southern Colorado, and it's a very, very well-oiled machine, as created by Vance Brown many years ago, about 2017, I believe.
Yep.
And here we are, several, almost 8 years later, going into the next generation of upstart companies here in Southeast Colorado. So when you and I left off, Max, we were starting to talk about, some of the differences between the two key programs they have, the Survive and Thrive, and of course the Tech Accelerator. Yeah. And then some of what people would need to have in their bag to have a really material conversation with you as an accelerator. Is their company really prepared to go into that environment?
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
So just off the top, let's repeat those for those just joining in. They need to have a minimum viable product.
Yep. They need to have a minimum viable product. So they've put the time in to build something out. It's more than just an idea. They've put pen to paper, and hopefully they've actually built something out, whether it's a program or an actual piece of hard tech. And then they also need to have a plan for customers and or be working on what is their plan to bring in revenue beyond just investment. That's definitely a piece that we talk about, but we want to know that they're thinking about what are they doing with customers? Right. How is that going to go?
And what are you going to do in those down times and innovation times?
Exactly.
That's right. When customers aren't always lining up at your door.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And investment capital, obviously, a lot of that is for innovation and operational infrastructure and to formalize the business in many ways. But I think a lot of investors, at least new bio investors, if you will, come in and they think it might be a function of just presenting an idea and having a venture capitalist or an angel investor get all excited and jump up and say, I'm going to put $100,000 into your company.
Yeah.
Doesn't really work that way.
No, I mean, I've got two companies from our last cohort right now. One of them, he's probably met with at least 7 or 8 different venture capital firms and gone through the due diligence with them to try to figure out which one really matches well with him and his product and his idea. Because really, it's also about more than the investment. You're also looking at what are the connections that they have.
That's right.
Where do they specialize in terms of the verticals that they invest in? And then I've got another company that's meeting with a VC up in Denver. I think he's on his 4th round of due diligence with them, and they're coming close to determining whether that investment is going to happen or not.
Excellent.
But all of that came from our last demo day. So, for me, that's a big win.
It's a big win. So some of your, for lack of a better phrase, graduates that have come out of here, we've got some local brands here that have kind of hit the headlines of our local media outlets and newspapers. Who are some of the more famous or more reputable names that we've seen out there?
Yeah, Barn Owl is one of those big names for in terms of the Tech Accelerator. On the Survive and Thrive side, you see Red Gravy,
Blue Stack.
Blue Stack. There is, and I'm trying to think of the brewery, Goat Patch Brewery.
Yeah.
Right over here nearby, right near our building. So it's a great spot for happy hours.
So what is a provider like that? Because Red Gravy's a restaurant, Goat Patch is a brewery.
Yeah.
What do they look like when they first come into your purview?
Yeah, so generally they're companies that have an idea of what they're doing. They know what they're doing, and they have an idea for growth. And so that's the Thrive part of Survive and Thrive. So when we started that program, we started it out of COVID, and there was a lot more companies on the Survive side. Those 2 businesses, they are really looking to grow. And so we worked with them to figure out what is their plan for growth. In the case of Goat Patch, they were looking to establish another location up north near the J.W. Roth.
They're at the base of my neighborhood.
Yeah. So they were looking to grow and build out that location. And so this gave them some of that funding, that financing to help come up with that plan.
Yeah.
We also had financial planners come in, or not financial planners, CFOs come in and work with them to figure out, hey, let's build out a pro forma.
Okay.
Let's figure this out for the next 3 years. Let's come up with forecasts so that we can make this something that makes sense beyond setting it up and just looking ahead 6 months. We're looking to figure out how do we make this a sustainable business.
Well, the thing I like about what you guys are doing, and folks, listen up here. I mean, if you don't have to be in a tech business to have a viable conversation with Exponential Impact. I mean, we just gave you 2 examples of one a brewery and one Red Gravy. Now, clearly, the owner-operators of those 2 companies are great technicians at what they do.
Absolutely.
Right? They're technicians, though.
Yeah.
Right? They're technically qualified in running a restaurant, creating a menu, all the functionality of that, and creating a taste.
Yeah.
And a marketable palate for everybody. And then, of course, Goat Patch, you've got all the brewing technology, but you have to have some differentiators there as well.
Yeah.
But they're 2 completely irrelated companies to somebody like a Blue Stack or a Barn Owl.
Yeah.
Right? Which is great. I mean, I think it's a very eclectic mix. So are there specific industry sectors that wouldn't necessarily be a fit? Would a retail store be okay to come into your purview?
Yeah, I mean, so for Survive and Thrive, it really is any type of small business.
Okay.
And so it really has been a big mix of businesses around El Paso County. Like I mentioned, I mean, we've got owners of dance studios, we've got glass cleaning companies, landscaping companies, kind of everything in between. They all have different needs though. And so one of the big parts of both of our programs, the Tech Accelerator and Survive and Thrive, is the mentorship component.
Got it.
So we find mentors that align well with what they need and what they're doing, and that's who we plug in with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, again, some of the graduates, Blue Stack, Barn Owl, Goat Patch Brewery, and of course, Red Gravy downtown if you're in Colorado Springs. You're not exclusive to Colorado Springs, though. You have businesses from outside El Paso County coming in, and they're certainly welcome to.
Yeah, so for Survive and Thrive, that's just El Paso County. For the Tech Accelerator, that's any business in the state of Colorado, and really any business that's doing business in the state of Colorado.
Excellent.
We brought in a company from Singapore, a founder from Singapore. She had established her business there. A really impressive young woman, incredibly smart, has a great product in the manufacturing space in AI. And she came through the accelerator, day before demo day, she announced she's setting up her U.S. presence here between Colorado Springs and Denver. So we're actively helping develop this economy and having more people like her. You know, she's a really good networker, really professional. She's somebody who helps bring in other players from around the state that we just weren't aware of before. So
Indeed.
it's building that statewide tech ecosystem.
Is there an intentionality about building more relationships with the Boulder corridor and trying to get some of that quantum computing discussion happening down here as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I met with Wendy Lee just a couple months ago, who's run a lot of that quantum stuff up there and has been really instrumental in building that tech ecosystem up there. And there's 4 things that we talked about, that every tech ecosystem needs, and it's access to capital, access to customers, access to talent, and then infrastructure. And so, a few of those things we've already talked about here today. But building out more of those connections with incubators, accelerators in Boulder, where companies that come in might not be aligned, might not be ready for them, but maybe they're more ideal for us and or vice versa, along with building out that investor infrastructure so that when we have companies that are really well aligned with an investor up north, we can make a quick call and easily get them connected.
Beauty.
And vice versa. We might have really good investors down here for a specific industry where some Boulder companies need to have some investment, and it's just growing the pie for all of us.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's also going to attract more talent to this area. Yep. So that's what we're trying to do.
I've had some subject matter experts come in here and talk about the dangers of focusing on specific clusters.
Yeah.
And I know you're familiar with this conversation as well. In fact, I think we had Vance in here talking about that. But are we diversifying from your chair? Are we diversifying our ecosystem here in Southern Colorado, as far as you can tell?
Absolutely. I know from my point of view, and again, I work in this every day, but our goal is to actively diversify the tech scene. And so we're tech agnostic, and we've got some incredible sport tech companies that have come out of our accelerator. We've got biotech companies that are applying right now and that have come through.
Good.
So there's all these different types of companies that are helping to diversify our local region. And at the same time, they're making those connections to the other regions. I mean, Fort Collins has a really great scene for biotech and bioscience.
Yep.
And their incubator, their accelerator up there is generally, it's just got a bit of a different focus. So we can work together where they come through ours and then they're ready for theirs.
Beauty.
So it's
Nice
a really great
handoff.
partnership. Exactly.
Well, when we come back, I want to talk about some of your programs.
Yeah.
So these businesses can hear that. I want to hear your kind of insights on the tech ecosystem here and investing in Colorado Springs and what that means to you and what it means to our listeners. So we're back in a moment with Max Cupp, Executive Director of Exponential Impact. Go to their website, exponentialimpact.com. Get a little background on who they are and what they do and where you fit in the conversation. Back in a moment.
See the change in my face now, 'cause I'm finally waking up, so I let go. So I let go. So I let go. Killing me, so I let go.
All right, the fourth quarter here, Business Digest Weekly. Glad you're with us. About an hour. What did I say?
Fourth quarter.
Fourth quarter,
Gotta
baby.
hold up the force.
The fours. That's right. NCAA. Yeah, I'm Ole Miss. He's, what's that little community college you went to?
Just a small school in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Okay, got it. Yeah. Go Blue, I think you guys say.
Yeah.
Great school, of course. University of Michigan, Michigan Wolverines. I'm just a humble Ole Miss rebel. I don't know if you saw our bowl game, man, but it was sparsely attended. No bueno, man.
It's tough.
It's tough. It's tough when you're not in the big bowl games, but I digress. Hanging out with Max Cupp. He is the Executive Director of Exponential Impact here in Colorado Springs. they're headquartered here, but they're welcoming tech businesses from all over Southeast Colorado to participate in their programs. And of course, there's other great ones throughout the community. You got Emerging Campus, Tech Start out in Canyon City, Emerging Campus down in Trinidad. You got some cohorts out there, some partners.
Absolutely.
But and it's good because I know you guys all talk, and you're all kind of a fraternity of people as well. So it's not hyper competitive in such a way that would deter a company from going to one place or another. So that's the good news. We did mistakenly identify BlueStack as one of the graduates of Exponential Impact. Just for the record, great company, but they did not actually go through the accelerator here in Colorado Springs. Barnow, however, did. And that's one of the great success stories to come out of Exponential Impact. Of course, there's others like them, Red Gravy and Go Patch Brewery, and there's just a laundry list of great companies that have come out, and they continue to come. So if you have an idea, you've got a concept that you're through beta testing, and maybe you've got some customers, and you're just trying to see what's next for your company, this might be the conversation for you, because Exponential Impact is here for those early stage companies who are looking to formalize aspects of their operations, their processes, their financials, and maybe even get the eye of a venture capitalist or angel investor. Max, glad you're with us.
Absolutely. I'm really glad to be here.
No, this is good stuff. Well, this is one of those important components, and you and I have discussed this multiple times, of a community that wants to start incubating and developing new businesses on its own. Right?
Absolutely.
They don't have to transplant all the time from somewhere else. We're actually growing them here. And having an accelerator with people who have tremendous experience in various spaces of commerce, whether it's retail, restauranting, brewing, or tech sector, in the tens of thousands of categories within the tech sector. But you mentioned earlier, you had a gal come into this region. She's got some technology around AI. She's planting her flag right here in Southern Colorado.
Absolutely.
Would you attribute some of that enthusiasm that she has expressed on her interaction with XI?
Absolutely. And what I would say too is, to me, that really shows the partnerships that have been built out in this ecosystem, because where that came from was actually a connection with OEdit and with our own chamber and EDC, who brought Alexandra over to us with her company Factorum. And really, the community coming around her and her company has really led her to say, hey, this is a spot where I know I'm being supported by the community. I know I'm being supported by local government and local quasi-government with, chambers and EDCs. I'm supported by local mentors.
Right.
And so we really try to just bring our arms around everybody that comes through our cohorts. And that community is a huge aspect for anybody who's kind of a lonely entrepreneur trying to find their way. And
that lonely entrepreneur is almost a redundant statement, right? I mean, they really are lone wolves in many regards. I mean, I certainly feel that way as a kind of I call myself a media entrepreneur, because we're trying to reinvent and reestablish and recreate a viable product for the business community to wrap their arms around and leverage our platforms to tell their stories, not just locally, right? But now we're getting audiences outside the region. We're being picked up in Silicon Valley and Texas and Chicago and New York and different places, which is great. Yeah. They're listening to our podcast, and we want people to understand Colorado Springs means business, and part of meaning business is having a formalized tech accelerator.
Absolutely. We have to have it, and we have to have that community where people who come into town, who when they first get here have no idea what's going on, but they know there's a spot to go. Yep. And everybody in the community says, hey, you have a tech business? You got to check out XI.
Right on.
I had a guy come in last Monday, so just a week and a half ago, and came in, just started sitting in one of the places in our co-working spaces, and he has a tech company with a dentist office. So kind of a unique company, but comes in within 4 days. He's showing up to our pitch nights. He's saying hi to everybody in the building, and he's applying to our accelerator. And, the quote from him was, I already got more than the value of the accelerator just in these 4 days of being here talking with the community.
Sold.
It's too easy.
Yeah, that's good stuff. But if you don't have that, it's notably absent.
Yeah. You know, it's the guys having a conversation in a coffee shop where they get to talking about tech and then they show up at pitch night.
Yep.
When you have that, you've got something going on in your community. And that's what we have.
Very good. Well, I want to get to some of your programs here and then the tech ecosystem in general, just kind of an executive summary.
Yeah.
And what it means to you and XI and some of your leadership and some of your companies to invest in Colorado Springs. So let's start with the programs.
Yeah, so we've got a number of programs that support entrepreneurs and we host them. So there's events every single week that are happening at XI. So we've got a VetNet program from 8:30 to 10 a.m. every Tuesday. So that's for veterans that are interested in networking, and generally it's those small business owners, entrepreneurs. Every Wednesday morning from 9 to 10, we have 1 million cups. So hearing the stories from entrepreneurs, those are both happening in our spaces off North Nevada. So 3650 North Nevada every Tuesday, Wednesday. We also have every third Thursday of the month our pitch night, and that's a way for those who have ideas and or that are further along with their business, are looking to get some feedback on their pitches, have an opportunity to get feedback from the community. You know, I had last week just a guy with a company called Data Hubs. He's been a CTO forever, and he's Brazilian originally, but came here, found the community because 3 different people told him he needed to learn about XI, and he gave his pitch, and now he's rewritten his whole pitch based on the feedback that he got from everybody at pitch night.
Can't beat that with a stick. So that's the third Wednesdays?
That's every third Thursday.
Thursday.
From 5:30 to 7:30.
All right, very good. And then you've got a women's focused group.
Yeah, so we have a new group that's come in called Women Entrepreneurs, helping women entrepreneurs. And that's also the third Thursday in the mornings of every month. And so it's a group of women entrepreneurs that are doing exactly that, are helping other women entrepreneurs through programming and mentorship. And that happens right in our space.
That's outstanding. Well, I want to get to some other things because we're running short on time here.
Yeah.
The tech ecosystem. Give me your 1-minute dissertation on that.
Yeah, so there has been, I would say, a pretty robust and still young tech ecosystem in general, comparatively, built up north in Denver, Boulder, Fort Collins. We have a tech ecosystem that's really as well pretty nascent in that it's been 7 years or 8 years since XI was created. Catalyst was created around a similar time. So we're still relatively young, but we're really doing a great job of starting to connect more with the existing ecosystem that's out there, starting to build those partnerships so that, you know, when a company comes from Boulder and they're not ready or they don't have an accelerator for them up there, they've got an accelerator down here that they can participate in. And then we share investors, we share those companies, we share mentors, really just highlighting that there is a significant tech ecosystem, even if it is fairly young.
And what would be your message to listeners, both locally and abroad, outside of Colorado Springs? As I said, we've got listeners all over the country.
Yeah.
That they don't necessarily know about Colorado Springs and what the investment climate looks like.
Yeah. So when you look at states in terms of venture capital invested in tech companies, we're top 5. So we're right behind the Californias and New Yorks. So there's a significant amount of venture capital that's going into companies in our state, in our regions.
Okay.
And so it is very friendly for investment. In terms of access to talent, every day it's getting better. I talked with a VP of product at Schramm who said, you know, we didn't used to hire software engineers. And then when we started, it was pretty hard. It's getting easier and easier every day.
Good to hear.
Which is great.
Yep. Well, you know, a lot of folks on the outside looking in maybe have a perception of Colorado Springs in particular. They may see Denver as that more mature area, but this one is every bit as sophisticated and maturing as any other in the state. And I just want to get that message out, Max.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's an untapped market for a lot of folks. You know, if you're a business that's looking to grow and needs a new market, needs more customers, different customers, we've got the best network and access here that you can find. And so it's a kind of a gateway to Southern Colorado, and we're happy to be that.
Amen, brother. Closing thought from Exponential Impact.
You know, I didn't prepare for this, but I've got one. So I coach a high school baseball team as well.
Okay.
And we've got a saying that I picked up from a college coach. It's called mudita. It's a Sanskrit word. It basically means the vicarious joy that you receive when others do well.
Ooh,
And so
very nice.
when we can foster a community of mudita, where people are cheering each other on as they're doing well, we've really got something. And I would say every single thing that we're doing at XI, every single day, I feel that in our building. So join in.
What a great message. Max Cupp, Executive Director of Exponential Impact. I bet Vance smiled when he heard you say that.
I hope so.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. This has been a very, very informative conversation and good for our business community out there, because if you are just kind of feeling isolated and lone wolfing it out there, you don't have to. Come have a conversation with the good folks at Exponential Impact and see where you are. And once you know where you are, you know where to go. And you get a sense for the assets and resources available to them and by extension available to you. And don't miss a great opportunity to launch your company. It's a great place to accelerate and get some of that formalization to your business model so you can get out there and really do what you do best. Max, thanks for being here, brother.
Thanks for having me, Dirk.
Really appreciate it. ExponentialImpact.com. And until next week, folks, have a great weekend here in Southern Colorado.
You've been tuned in to Business Digest Weekly with Dirk Hobbs. If you'd like to be considered for a spot on our show, email us at info@coloradomediagroup.com.